So can you point it there and point it here? And then we don't have to see? I can watch this.
You can be off to the left.
Look, okay. Am I muted or am I on?
No, you're on.
No, okay, good. Then this is muted and this is good. Welcome everyone to the Kitchener Public Library and KW Professional Organizers live video talking about working from home. Emilio's going to come into the video soon enough. Where are you in our home right now? We are in kind of makeshift land of creating work zones at home that work for us now that we are caring full time for Eva, our daughter. Which I'm sure maybe many of you are in that place. You can hit a button or let me know if we're on the right topics using the comments below.
Yeah, I'm watching then. Hi, Selena.
Hi, Selena. Emilio's letting me know you're watching. This is creepy because I have me in front of me on this laptop and then me in here. So, Emilio, are you joining me or?
Yeah, Kitchener Public Library says, hi, Samantha and Emilio. Thank you for hosting this.
Hi, Kristen.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks for contacting us and reaching out. So this is a little bit of a different format than we're normally used to. Normally we would be in the Kitchener Public Library, one of the branches, and we would have a slide deck or a lot of videos and photos to be kind of going through to showing you the examples that we have when it comes to working from home. But because we are all practicing self-isolation, doing our best to follow the advice of our chief medical officers and the government of Canada, and we're protecting a lot of people by doing that. We are in the comfort of our home. Eva has just gone down for her nap. We've got her on a video as well for just in case something comes up, but hopefully she sleeps for the rest of this afternoon till 3, which would be great. Yeah. We try and get out and get a little bit more active, but it's hard to tucker somebody out when they're just bouncing around with what are we doing next? What are we doing next? So let's get on to the topic of working from home. I had made a comment that we were going to be focusing on the scheduling, focusing on how to stay focused when you're working from home. And then someone asked about paperwork. So we will touch on paperwork as some examples. Emilio, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you work from home currently in the situation that we're in?
Well, I have to say that we've been working from home for the past few years. We also do one-on-ones and we do live events, but majority of our work, creating online courses, creating content, and actually speaking with people happens from home. So for us, it hasn't been a huge change, but how we work from home, we have mobile offices, we call them. Basically, we each have a laptop, and then if we have connection to the internet, we use Google Drive to store our files, we use Google Calendar, so everything is in the cloud and we have access to all the tools that we need. So basically we can work from anywhere. So sometimes we work from our bed, sometimes we work from the couch, sometimes we sit on the desk, sometimes we go to the tiny office that we have in the backyard, and sometimes we go to coffee places, to the library, of course. We love going to the library. But right now we are isolating ourselves just to our home, and we are lucky that we have a tiny office. But we live in a 2-bedroom apartment, so our situation is maybe not the same as yours. So some people may live in a smaller space, some people may live in a house with different levels. So it depends how you have access to, like if you have access to spare bedrooms, it's easier for sure if you can shut the door behind you and be alone than in our case we have to share the spaces, and Eva is here too. So we can't control sometimes what happens around us. That's why we build a tiny office in the backyard, and that's helping us to be a little bit more focused and concentrated when we are working.
Yeah. So as mentioned, we're in a 2-bedroom apartment. So when it comes to the sound, that is something that we take into great consideration, because it is sometimes very hard to focus on whatever you're trying to do. If you are constantly aware of noise in the other room, if you are constantly being notified on your phone or computer of potential updates or things that could be happening. So the sound is something that you want to take into effect. Do you work better with music with lyrics, or do you work better with music with no lyrics, or no music whatsoever, or noise cancellation headphones? Sometimes you work better if you were like us. Sometimes we'd really want to have that coffee kind of social atmosphere where you're not engaging with people, but there's still noise around you. There's actual YouTube playlists, and there's one on Spotify that kind of has that coffee house kind of feel. So if you need that background noise, don't think it's weird to all of a sudden type on the YouTube that you want to have like a cafe atmosphere going on in the background, because sometimes that can really help you narrow in and focus. So sound.
So yeah, sound, and sometimes it's a matter of wearing like headphones or earphones, something that you can like isolate yourself and then just listen to what you want and cancel all the noise around you. That also helps a lot of people to stay focused. In our case, something that really helps too, it's having very defined boundaries when it comes to what am I doing right now? Am I allowed to work? Am I taking care of Eva? Am I in charge of meal planning?
So let's talk about scheduling, because one of the first things that we dived into was creating a rough outline of what we thought our week was going to look like as soon as, COVID-19 became something real, became something that we canceled the work that we had.
Daycare is canceled.
All non-essential services were closed. Playgrounds were off limits. When this all started to transpire, we said, right, let's get down to what a realistic schedule can look like. Yes, life can interrupt that, but it's kind of free of interruptions right now. We wish there was more kind of happening in our social calendars, but we try and aim for this. What does this look like? Any of you who have followed us in the past know that we are big bullet journal advocates. So my calendar is something that I like to have tangible and something visible in a book that I can see. Emilio, what do you like?
I do it on my Google Calendar. Why? Because I have everything in there. That's where we communicate with each other, and I don't feel the need to have a tangible one because I work well with Google Calendar.
Yeah, so digital is good. So I'm gonna come up close so that you can kind of see. This was pre-COVID, okay? So you can see that we had daycare for Eva, and then when that changed, our schedule changed, and look what it became. It became what was really important for me to focus on was how are we going to split the time caring for Eva, because right now she's not an independent a little child. She really needs a bit of guidance. She needs help with learning things. She still can get herself in pretty dangerous situations, so she needs one-on-one care all the time. Yeah. Sometimes it does involve her playing in the same room as us, but right now we're not fortunate enough to be at the stage where she can color independently, for example. So we have really taken it upon ourselves to say, how can we be good mentors for Eva and get her into a space where she's feeling well? That moves into our next. Is there any questions about scheduling or what that looks like? Do you want to add something?
I just want to add something that, so we started with the schedule that you saw, and it's basically 3 hours a month, 3 hours myself, 3 hours a month, 3 hours myself. So we were doing 3-hour blocks, and that allows us to, okay, I have 3 hours now, what can I do, right? So I'm gonna work, or I'm gonna cook, or I'm gonna clean the house, I'm gonna go for whatever you need to be doing, right? But that wasn't working really well for us because it wasn't enough time to get on the zone to do something, especially if you are doing something that requires your concentration a lot. So you have to get into that zone of, I am in the zone of creating a course or creating something that is more creative. 3 hours wasn't enough. So starting from today, we are doing half days. So I did this morning from 8
Wait, can I interrupt?
2. Yeah.
So we did originally, when we had daycare, we were doing kind of 8-hour shifts of care in between us. What we found is that we went through a period of change and we needed to shorten that because 8 hours with Eva consistently while she was teething was a little bit too much draining of the cup. So we needed to switch every now and again so that we could stay refreshed and recharged as people. And as Emilio explained, then we had to find something else. Eva's in a better place now. Her teeth are come in. She's much more fun to be around. And so now we can go back to looking after her 8 hours at a time, giving each other space and enough time to sink into a project. Because there's nothing like getting just so inspired and into the zone and getting something done, and then the timer going and saying, hey, you got to go relieve your partner. So we've moved back into 8 hours.
Yeah, and I just want to say that this is the standard, this is the basic that we try to follow, but that doesn't mean that we don't do things like family. So that's the standard that happens every day if nothing else happens, but sometimes we say, oh, I'm gonna be with him in the backyard and we can have some family time. We feel both like doing that. So we will just cancel what we had and just do that, right? So it doesn't mean that that happens like that every single day.
The schedule isn't meant to handcuff you to an idea. It's meant to alleviate the stress and frustration that could have when you are living with someone or you are sharing responsibility with someone. So we're really big advocates of at least fantasizing about what does an ideal week look for you in the situation that we're in. We're all trying to stay self-isolated. What time do you need for yourself? What time do you have to dedicate to your responsibilities? It's a great technique to do. We wrote about it in our book.
Now you may have time to read it.
A Recipe for an Extraordinary Life. I'm going to repeat this during the live. We're only here for 30 minutes. If you are interested in getting a digital copy of this book, please just put a comment saying want the book or something like that, and we will send you a free digital copy. You can read it on any device that you'd like. It's an EPUB file, so we'll send that to you privately, and you can specifically do the exercise that we're talking about, creating your ideal week with step-by-step instructions with templates that are in the book here, and we guide you through doing that. And we really have to say, it is probably one of the things that gives us the most permission to say, now's my time, Emilio. I'm heading out to do a walk by myself, or I'm going to go and paint a picture because I'm on my free time, or vice versa. Emilio can do the same.
It's very nice to be able to do that, knowing that the other person is in charge. Because sometimes when you do all together, we were finding at the beginning that we were co-parenting a lot, and sometimes I didn't change Eva's diaper, she didn't, I thought she did, she thought I did, and then one for the other, it was like, oh, we did that, right? Or so now it's very defined who is doing what and when, and that helps me a lot to be able to do other things and feel well.
Another thing it does is it eliminates the procrastinator in me, who kind of sometimes looks for excuses to not do certain work. When I know it's my time, I tell myself, okay, Sam, it's time for you to sit down and get dedicated. Big exclaimer right now, I want to tell you, it is normal to feel anxious, to feel scared, or to have fear at all. And it is completely normal to not be productive whatsoever during this time. So I want to tell you just straight up, as someone who's trained in mental health first aid, your sole responsibility right now should be looking after yourself and then being able to look after others, okay? So it's like the message on the airplane, affix your air mask first and then go on to assisting others. Right now we are living in an unprecedented time, but you are able to take the reins and say, okay, I'm gonna do the best that I can do, and nobody can ask more of me right now. So don't feel pressured to be productive.
Yeah, and always like this is an ongoing new habit that we are all creating. Like this situation it's new. It's like it happened just a couple of weeks ago, right? So it takes time to create new habits. So don't be hard on yourself if you are not doing what you would like to be doing. Just focus on what's gonna happen tomorrow. How can I make it happen? Instead of focusing on, oh, I didn't do that, oh, I failed. No, you didn't fail. You are trying to set a new habit, and sometimes it doesn't happen overnight, and that's fine.
Yeah, and I would like to do a shout out for Kitchener Public Library right now, and all of our public libraries who are working really hard to adapt to the new situation. Kristen, I believe, is watching right now. She will be able to post in the comments the links that you need to be able to get a free library card and start accessing free digital content right now through the library. So whether it's ebooks or it's podcasts or it's streaming content, anything like that is available from the library. So we really encourage you, if you are kind of at a loss and not really certain, there is no better time to check out the online services that our libraries provide, because once you dive into that world, you set a timer because you're going to get consumed into everything that they have to offer. Yeah. So let's talk about how to stay focused. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What are some of the techniques that you're using? Because you read a lot about the Pomodoro effect, using timers, taking certain breaks, batching content. Why don't you talk a bit about that?
So, okay. So there are a lot of different strategies that you can use. In my case, I try to use a timer, for example, that I set, and then I'm able to concentrate in a task for like 40 to 50 minutes, normally, no problem, right? So I try to be intentional about what am I doing right now, and then I'm trying to aim into doing that. Once I finish that period of time, I try to give myself a break of 5 to 10 minutes, and then I try to stretch up. I try to I'm learning how to.
Oh, this is gonna be fun.
I'm learning how to juggle 4 balls, so I can do 3 right now. Okay, so this is something that I learned a few years ago, but now I'm trying to do 4. So basically, my exercise is I have to do this with one hand and then this with the other, and then eventually I will be able to do it with both. So this is something silly, but just the fact of doing this for a few seconds takes my mind away from...
By seconds, he means minutes.
A couple minutes. Honestly, I don't spend more than a minute doing it, but the repetition, the daily repetition of doing it maybe 2-3 times, it's helping me to get the handle of it, and it's something fun to do. In the corner there, I don't know if you can see it, that's something that I'm also trying to do. Like I have my guitar there with some music, so I try to play the guitar a little bit. Not for...
Show that space for me.
Huh?
Show that space for me.
Yeah, and then this is Samantha's space where she does a little bit of meditation and yoga. And
I'm really terrible at daily exercise. That's why I used to go to a gym. And now that there is no gym services, I really struggle even with videos on YouTube and doing it myself. But creating the space and not having to move things away, that's really helped me with doing this one video that a local musician, Alicia Brilla, shared with me. And it's a 14-minute kind of yoga video that I was like, oh, thank God, because this is something that I can do. So creating spaces to be able to focus in on what you're doing sets you up for success.
So being aware of how you function, right? So how long can you be focused for? What's your environment look like? Like if I'm in charge of Eva, I can't do specific tasks. I just can't because she's there and she needs me, and it's selfish if I'm doing my own thing and she will just come and cry all the time beside me. So that's not fair. So I know that specific tasks, work related, I'm not doing them when I'm with Eva. When I'm with Eva, I try to do something that I like or that she likes, and I try to do something that I enjoy, but she's also participating with me. So focus. Just be mindful about what is it that you are doing and be clear with yourself. Like, what am I doing right now? For how long? And then go and do it. Use a timer and then come back. Okay, what am I doing right now? Okay, I'm gonna keep doing the same task. Great. Sometimes you go to social media. I noticed this on Facebook, and if I don't set a timer, time goes by and I did way more other things that I didn't want or didn't plan to do. So by setting the intention of what am I doing now? I'm going to my Facebook business page and answering comments. That's it. For 15 minutes. Boom. That helps me keep focused. Sometimes I drop the ball, I'm a human, and sometimes the day goes by and I realize, what did I do today? And I wasn't very productive. That happens too. That's why it's important to keep these things fresh and practice them every day. And sometimes you just don't.
There's a really good book by Mark McCowan called Essentialism. And we've read it, I think it was last year that I read it. And it's really good because it helps. There's no such thing as priorities, plural. It's a priority. If you have more than one priority, then nothing's a priority anymore. So trying to give yourself permission to say, well, what's really important to me right now? What is my number one priority? For me, as I said before, I really have started to let go of that productivity mindset, because in truth, I do wake up sometimes in the middle of the night right now, and I have a really hard time getting back to sleep. I feel anxious. I feel worried about the loved ones in my life. I'm very, very fortunate. Emilio's family is from Barcelona, Spain. Everyone is in really good health, but Spain is really a hot spot for the virus. It's hard to stop that wheel from working, but what does help me is actually thinking about all the things that I'm grateful for. So one of the things I get to center myself at the beginning of the day, I try and do it first thing in the morning, but to be honest, sometimes it doesn't happen until 6 or 7 o'clock at night. I grab my journal and I do what's called a gratitude journaling practice, where the only thing I do is write 3 things I'm grateful for and 1 positive experience from the last 24 hours. And what that does is it not only gives me this amazing tool of reflection to look back and see all the things I've been grateful for, but it also sets me up at the beginning of the day to say, I'm going to focus on what I can control, and I have a lot of things to be grateful for in my life, and that's how I'm going to get focused. I also use my journal as a task area. I used to be a post-it note person. I used to create to-do lists on multiple pieces of paper. And what I always found is that I was rewriting, I was ripping, I was losing, I was getting multiple to-do lists. And by focusing in on one journal, on one area, specifically using the bullet journal method, I no longer lose notes. I know where everything is. I know how long I've been trying to do something, like, because let's be honest, sometimes we write something on a to-do list and it's been on our to-do list for 8 months. So acknowledging in myself what it is that I want to do, this helps me get a lot of focus with setting up my work day. If I need to make a phone call, or right now there's no appointments, but there's sometimes we started doing a lot of video calls with friends, with family, I'll put that into my Google Calendar so that I have an alert system. But the things that are important to me in my calendar, I do journal into my day. So let's jump to paperwork, if that's okay.
I just want to say, Rebecca, we saw your comment about how to organize kids stuff. I believe the next live video that is happening on Friday.
On Friday.
It's gonna be all about organization. So we will talk about those topics in that one, okay?
Yeah. But okay, let's just talk really quickly about if you've got children at the home and you are doing work, how do you control how much of their stuff gets into your workspace? And again, this is going to be personal preference. What is comfortable for me might not be comfortable for you, but here's one thing that we can share with you now that we are parents and we do have a lot of kids' toys in our house. We have very clearly defined boundaries of where we want those toys to exist, meaning where we put them away at the end of the night and where we put them away maybe before she goes for her nap. We make it a routine with her to try and get her to start to realize, here's where I put things back. If your kids are older, you can have different conversations about boundaries. But of course, things are going to get messy during the day when we're all stuck inside, especially with the rainy week that we just had, but we're moving into sunshine.
I just want to say that we have a private Facebook group that is you are welcome to join. It's called A Recipe for an Extraordinary Life. And one of the last live videos I made was all about how to organize toys, because 3 people asked for that topic. So if you join for free, I will accept your request, and then you can watch that video. It's like 20 minutes of just about toys and kid toys and how to organize them.
But join us on Friday at 1 too for a quick 30-minute. So let's talk about paper. Emilio and I have been practicing the art of minimalism in our lives for 8 years now. Okay, since we came to Canada in 2012 and started our lives together, we have been slowly going through the process of eliminating paper, meaning we go digital whenever we can. We do a yearly Google Drive declutter to keep our digital life kind of under control, because that is difficult to do. Anybody who takes pictures knows what I'm talking about. But the physical paper, it is a myth that you can go completely paperless. It is a myth, because by law, if you've ever worked or you own anything, you must have paper documents thus far to prove that. For Canada Revenue Agency, it's tax time right now, you have to have sometimes 7 to 10 years of your file work ready in case you should ever be audited, and hopefully that never happens. So what does Emilio and I's paperwork look like for having a business, for having 1 child, and for having 2 individuals?
So I just want to say that we used to have a small filing cabinet, but we reorganized the bedroom, and we realized that we didn't need it because everything fits in here and it's portable.
And there's room to grow. So why did we pick a portable one? It's a little bit heavy. I can lift it, but yeah. That's my gym exercise for today. So why did we pick this? Because we can move it around and we still have the ability to access the files like we used to out of the filing cabinet, meaning we didn't want a box with just the paperwork kind of all in it. We still wanted to have the ability to search and get our files out as easily as possible.
But I just want to say that majority of the people need to keep way less paper than they think, okay? So we always recommend that you need to talk. If you aren't sure of what you need to keep, you don't need to keep, just talk with the professionals, with your accountant, with your financial advisor, with your lawyer, whatever,
doctor,
and then make sure that they tell you exactly what to keep and what not to keep, because majority of the times you can get rid of a lot of things and that you can find online. Some people prefer to have the physical copy, and that's totally okay. But if you want to go,
rule of thumb is too, Anytime that you can't get an answer about a specific piece of paper, meaning your lawyer or your doctor or your tax agent tells you, I'm not really sure if you should get rid of it, then keep it. Then you never have to worry about that kind of thing.
And there is a very cool app called Tiny Scanner. It's free. You can snap a photo with any smartphone and it will create a PDF document. So that's the way that we use to digitize like papers that we don't want to keep the physical copy. If you have Google Drive, there is an option in there too that is free, that you snap a photo and it becomes a PDF. So it's very easy these days to be paperless with the things that you don't need.
Yeah. So the question was, what do I do with all of the papers? So not very specific for us to be able to answer that question well. Were they papers that were on a desk? Were they papers that come into the house? Were they papers that we put up on a board? Or were they filing cabinet? Let's quickly show you just the way that we organize our paper files. It's not going to be the same for everyone. Everyone's a little bit different, but there's a couple key things that we have learned about setting up paper files, and that is the names that you see here are all based on what those papers mean to us. Our tax files are all in the back with the amount of years that we are legally responsible for keeping. So when this year ends, we're able to take 2012 out, get rid of it and shred it because we don't need to keep it anymore, and add 2021 in. Eva has her own section, Emilio has his own section, Samantha has her own section. Notice that the colors are different. Notice that the tags are all in one line. They're like that because experts say that it's very hard for us to read across diagonals, making it difficult for us and to find information when we need it. And then everything in yellow here, we have that relates to our business and our bills. And so our papers are dwindling in here, but as you see, we have things for marketing, receipts that we need to keep, automobiles, home insurance, our cats, and of course the best folder of them all, our creations. Again, I'm going to plug our book, A Recipe for an Extraordinary Life, right here. There it is.
Available at the library.
Available at the library, but right now our digital copy isn't. So if you want one, just mention it in the comments and I'll send you the free EPUB file. These creations are basically where we focus on how we want to get things done in life. What do we want to focus on in certain areas of our life? So that's a really cool folder. That is our paper files.
So I just want to say something before you close it. Like for the visual people, there are a few very quick and visual strategies that you can do in your filing cabinet or here. So you can play with the colors of the tags here, the tabs. They can be different kind of colors. You can play with the color of these hanging folders, and you can play with the colors of these binders inside it. So a lot of people have a lot of fun, and it's very nice to find things if you decide, all my personal one is gonna be green folders with yellow tabs, and my business one is gonna be red with green tabs. So you can play with all those configurations to make your filing cabinet very visually appealing to you.
So Jessica just joined us and she was the one who asked about paper. Jessica, do you want to tell us specifically what part of paperwork was giving you a little bit of a frustration or something that you wanted to ask us? We'll keep going, but if you give us a comment, we'll try and answer it specifically.
Yeah, I think someone mentioned that everything ends up on the kitchen table. That's because the system that you have is broken. So that means that majority of the times when we help people with paper, we always think about the process and the system that they follow. So they come home with a piece of paper. What happens with that piece of paper? Some people have a desk, some people put it on the kitchen table, and then what happens with that? Where in the ends up? If you have to take an action, where do you take the action? So you have to think about how that paper flows in your home, and what's the temporary home until you deal with it, and what's the permanent home? Ideally a filing cabinet or something similar that you can store them vertically. So
what do we do with mail, for example, Emilio?
With mail, we always open the mail outside of the house. Whatever is not important.
That's not true. Outside of the house?
I always go to the mailbox. Whatever is not junk mail or something, I put it in the blue bin right away. I don't bring it
I
home.
open it in the kitchen.
Again, different people, different methods. It doesn't matter how you do it as long as your system flows well.
So what happens once you open it?
So we open it and then
I open it.
We think, okay, do I need to take an action on this paper? If it's a yes, put it on the desk or maybe take the action right away if we have time. If not, we just put it aside. If it's something related with finances, we always do it at the end of the month. So we pin it on a board that we have.
Show the board while we're here.
Well, the board, this is one that we have in here for business. Okay, so we have a debit, credit, income, and things to shred. And then we have our monthly to-do list that we follow every month. We have all the
I'm going to
steps.
slow down for a second. Why do we have a monthly closure list, the to-do list that Amelia just showed you? We do this because Emilio and I are more methodical in the sense that I don't do well with trying to remember the task that I have to do once every month. Because what was happening is that when that time came around at the end of the month, I'd be like, oh, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to do it? I'd forget. And so we started creating a list just written down. Eventually we typed it up and saved the file so we'd never lose it. But now it's a simple, I just did it because it's April Fool's. I closed the month this morning. I grabbed this list and I just simply followed the checklist. I made sure that all our bills were paid. I made sure that all the accounting was updated. I made sure that I wrote our rent check, and that kind of stuff really helped us out. And this board gives us a home until we've actually taken action on that paper.
The temporary home.
The temporary home. Once this is done, I then will take all the files. Notice these are all empty. I've taken those paperworks. I've opened and come to my filing cabinet. And then under receipts is where I put, already this month, our business receipts and our gas receipts. Okay. And that is something that I have to do every month to be able to close it properly.
And how do we track those numbers though?
And we track those numbers using a Microsoft Excel sheet. And it's a simple process that we follow. Emilio actually has a finances course, so if you are ever interested in information about that, just hit the comments and let us know. So let's move on to other types of paperwork.
Yeah, wait a second. Jessica says, I'm a teacher, so I end up with lots of paperwork.
Oh, girl, we know.
Everything from staff meeting notes, worksheets, professional reading stuff I need to mark, etc., plus all the household papers like mail and bills.
Okay, so my questions that I would want to start asking you are what those paperworks mean. Is there a way of, so if I were to ask you, the certain papers we're pulling out, as you're receiving them from work, do some of the papers not even really need to happen? Are some of them something that should be coming through email? Is there a way of changing the system of you receiving papers? That's just one question. The answer may be no. Moving on from that. Once we have the paperwork, that's very distracting.
Sorry.
Once we have the paperwork, but funny and fun. Once we have the paperwork sorted of what it is that you're getting, you then have to have the responsibility of saying, okay, well, what do these memos mean? What do these teacher?
Yeah.
This is bad. I don't have the right lingo for it. I'm really sorry. We do work with a lot of teachers, so I totally get it. The paperwork that you also get from children that you're responsible for report cards and all that kind of work, we have to work on the system of how you actually need it. And you need to acknowledge, like we were talking about before, what are the ones that you do not need? If there's an action associated with the paper, do you use a digital calendar or a physical calendar? Because a way of solving some of the paper would be to take those actions either daily, as it happens, weekly or monthly, and saying, right, now I'm going to take the action that this paper is requesting, and I'm actually going to put it into my calendar and get rid of the piece of paper. Or if I have one place, like I do with my journal, maybe you have an agenda or a worksheet, is there one space every month where you write down all the to-dos or the paperwork associated tasks that you need to get done?
Yeah, when it comes to the actual physical papers that you are keeping, at the end of the day, once you decide what you keep or you don't keep, what you keep, it needs to find a permanent home somewhere, probably in your house, right? So that's when you have to look at the space. How much space do you have? How much space are you willing to sacrifice to store those things? What is the happy balance between the space that you have and how much stuff you want to keep in there? And then that's what will dictate the system, right? Because if you have a huge basement that you can use, then space is not a problem. Then maybe you can keep everything. But if you live in a 2-bedroom apartment and you only have one shelf, that system's gonna look way different because you don't have as much storage space. So
two other things that popped into my mind. One teacher that we've worked with in the past, she actually had like a smaller version of the temporary filing cabinet in her car, because what she would do, as opposed to bringing some of that teacher work related paperwork into the house, and you can do this for any work that you do. Right now we're in the house, so it's a little bit different, but you shouldn't really be getting that many papers, is she actually filed it in her car. So anything that she had work related, it was in a filing cabinet. kind of, or filing storage solution in the trunk of her car. So that's an idea. Another thing that some teachers do is, because you guys work full on from the beginning of September until the end of June, unless you're doing summer school, you are kind of like, you know, at the extremes of work already. Maybe you save the paperwork, the sorting, the organization of your paper until the end of term. For some people, they can't do that because then they would be lost. But for others, they say, right, I'm gonna put all the important papers in a box, but I know that as soon as school's over and I can breathe again, that's when I'm gonna pull that box out and start to go through it, organize it, decide what I'm keeping, what I'm not keeping.
And once you have the system in place, if you are open to the idea of if you don't really need the physical paper and you can snap a photo and digitize it right away, that's something that a lot of people do. They snap a photo, becomes a PDF, and you save it in a folder that is in a Google Drive or Dropbox, somewhere that is safe, and if you lose the device, you're not gonna lose it, and it syncs with all the devices that you have, and then when you have the time, you deal with it. That's a really good system that will eliminate the physical paper completely.
And now let's talk about what we do with clients when we're talking about paper. When we go in and we are actually one-on-one with a client in their home, in their space, we never do paper first.
No.
Never ever.
Don't do that.
Because the reason being, if you are not in an environment, a room, in a desk or a kitchen table that you feel comfortable, meaning everything kind of is away and there's no more work to be done, that's when you can have the mental capacity to really get into figuring out what your paper system is. Also, with dealing with paper, floor space, bed space, table space might be really important to utilize, because you need room to be able to sort all those papers out so that you can actually see how many different categories, zones that you have, and the names of those categories and zones should really just come from you. We never suggest titles of filing folders or anything, because it's got to be the keyword that comes to your mind when you see that piece of paper.
It's your system, it's your process.
Yeah, you need to be able to trust whatever that you create. So paperwork always looks worse before it gets better when you're sorting, but please don't try and tackle your paper if there's other stuff in the room that's bugging you. So if your bed, for example, is made clean and clear, maybe that's a big enough workspace for you to get started. But if your bedroom, you're doing paper in your bedroom, I don't know why, but there's clothes everywhere all over the floor and you've got boxes piled up and the room just doesn't feel right because that's not done, definitely don't start with paper. Start with getting the clothes away. Start with moving those boxes until they feel better. We also recommend right now, because donation centers are closed, if you have a pile of stuff that you can't work through right now, or you know is leaving the house, try putting a blanket of one color just over top of it. Yes, it will be kind of like a covered piece of art, if you will, but it will help you visually relieve those mental notes of, oh, I still have to do that. Oh, this is bugging me.
So something that you can do, that we do with clients when we are in between sessions, and they have a lot of clutter, but physically it's all spread out everywhere. If you go through the process of decluttering and you have stuff that you don't need but you can't take it away right now, get medium-sized boxes, and then you can stack them up all the way to the ceiling. Label them as donations, and then by doing that, I can guarantee you that the volume of things that you see on the floor and everywhere will be contained into a very little corner, because if you think about stacking medium-sized boxes all the way like
to a safe level.
But you have 2 or 3 piles of boxes, you can fit a lot of things in there, and all of a sudden you are freeing up all the clutter that you used to have in that room. And now you can set, as Samantha said, you can work on paper, you can work on clothes, you can work on the things that you want to keep, not the things that you don't need anymore.
Now, as per usual, anyone who's ever seen one of our presentations, we have gone over our time because we love to talk. It is 1:38, so out of respect for your time, we are going to end this video. We said we'd be on for 30 minutes. We want to keep it nice and short for you guys, so if you want to watch, you didn't get to watch this video live, you can kind of keep it in a 30-minute time frame, okay? What we want you to do, stay safe, self-isolate, and we are going to get through this COVID crisis. If you are struggling in any way with working from home or organization or clutter in your home, please reach out to us. We do have an abundance of time right now, and we would love to help you. The Kitchener Public Library, thank you so much for having us. Thank you, Kristen, for promoting this and getting people involved. They have resources galore online.
Yeah.
So if you are feeling unmotivated, down, depressed, anxious, and you need something to read or watch or listen to, go to the library and see what they have for you.
And I have read several comments that the word overwhelm is showing up. Guys, it's normal to feel overwhelmed. The process is overwhelming, but you just have to get started and then follow through, okay? As Samantha was saying, reach out. We have a free Facebook group called A Recipe for an Extraordinary Life, same as our book. Join for free in there. I do Facebook Lives every week. I answer questions. And the more you share, the more specific you can be with your problem, the more we can help you and the more other people will help you. So try to be specific about your concerns and questions.
No judgment coming from these two people.
No. We love doing this.
I want to end it with you seeing how the kitchen is right now, because I want to share with you, I don't do dishes during the day because my hands are super dry. So here we go through. This is our bedroom and this is now our living room. This is our cat Negrito. Say hi, Negrito. And we're going to walk through.
That's Eva sleeping. I don't know if you can see her, but it's very cute.
This is the current state of our kitchen. It's not crazy overwhelming. We're also having our roof done, but I don't do dishes during the day. I leave dishes on the kitchen counter. I wait until the end of the day, so I only have to do dishes once. If there are things that are driving you crazy, go back to the basics. Go back to the things that make you feel well. This morning, I tried to just read a book and connect with people, and that was really the only thing that was on my to-do list. This afternoon, I'm going to be with Eva, and then later when she goes to bed, I'm going to tackle the mess in the kitchen so that I can wake up and feel well the next day.
Guys, I also do dishes, by the way.
Oh yeah, Amelia, so we alternate days. This is another just quick thing for productivity. We do a meal plan. This is Amelia's here. We have assigned dishes, and then we also have our shopping list. Right now, our shopping is minimal. Listen, we've gone way over our time. Good luck working from home. Don't feel like you have to be productive. Just have fun. And thank you so much.
Yeah. See you on Friday.
Yeah.
Adios.